I'm good.
Yes.
Yes, I'm okay.
Yes.
Okay. Give me 1 second to go live and then we'll begin the meeting.
Unmuted.
This meeting of the City of Socorro Planning and Zoning Commission is set to begin. First and foremost, the City of Socorro would like to thank everyone and ask for your patience during this difficult time we have been presented with. Everyone, please remember to silence any electronics to avoid sound interruption. No disruptive behavior or outbursts will be tolerated, and violators are subject to call disconnection and possible prosecution. In accordance with Section 418.016 of the Texas Government Code, and by order of the Office of the Governor issued March 16, 2020, the City of Socorro Planning and Zoning Commission will broadcast the meeting scheduled today, Tuesday, January 5th, 2021, at 5:30 p.m. from City Hall Chambers located at 860 Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, via telephone conference and live stream in order to advance the public health goal and practice social distancing to slow the spread of the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. The public that signed up and any presenters will be called upon by the presiding officer during the meeting to speak during the public comment or their agenda item during the meeting following Government Code 551.042. La reunión de la Comisión de Planificación y Zonificación de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Primeramente, queremos darles las gracias y pedimos su paciencia durante estos momentos críticos que enfrentamos. Les pedimos que pongan en silencio todo equipo electrónico para evitar interrupción de sonido. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. A quien no siga estas reglas, su llamada será desconectada y puede ser infraccionado. De acuerdo con sección 418.016 del Código del Gobierno de Texas y por orden de la Oficina del Gobernador, anunciada el 16 de marzo del 2020, la Comisión de Planificación y Zonificación de la Ciudad de Socorro transmitirá la reunión hoy martes 5 de enero del 2021 a las 5:30 desde la Sala del Concilio ubicadas en 860 Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, por medio de conferencia telefónica y será transmitida en vivo para avanzar en el objetivo de salud pública y practicar el distanciamiento social, para tomar medidas preventivas para prevenir la propagación del coronavirus, conocida como COVID-19, a los demás y por la seguridad del público. El público y los presentadores serán anunciados por el oficial conduciendo la reunión. Para poder hablar durante la sección de comentario público o después de la discusión del artículo de la agenda por cual se apuntaron, siguiendo las reglas del gobierno 551.042. Mr. Arroyos, you are muted.
So sorry. Okay. This is the Socorro Planning and Zoning Commission, January 5th, 2021. It is 5:34. We call this meeting to order.
Item number 2, establishment of quorum. Ernest Gomez. Mr. Gomez, you're on mute. Ernest Gomez.
Yes, here.
David Estrada.
Here.
Arturo Lafuente.
Here.
Andrew Arroyos.
Here.
Enrique Cisneros.
Here.
We have quorum with all commissioners present. Item number 3, notice to the public. Diana, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
No.
Item number 4, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Point of inquiry, this is just to approve the agenda, not to vote in the positive, the agenda items, right?
That's to approve all the items that are under the consent block, including the meeting minutes and then two public hearing requests. That's items B and C.
Could you say that one more time, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you say that one more time, please?
Yes, sir. So under the consent block, we have the meeting minutes from November the 17th. That's item A. And then we have B, that's gonna be a public hearing request that we're gonna present to you in the next meeting. And then item C is, it's another public hearing request.
I second that motion.
Thank you, sir.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to approve and second by Enrique Cisneros. I'd like to take a vote. Ernest Gomez? Mr. Gomez, you're on mute. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. David Estrada?
Abstain.
Arturo Lafuente?
Yes.
Andrew Arroyos? Mr. Arroyos, you're on mute. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. Enrique Cisneros?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion was carried. Item number 5, consider and take action on the meeting calendar for 2021.
The calendar that was provided to you in the backup includes every first and third Tuesday of every month. Just to remind you, last year, the commission requested that they didn't want to have a meeting in the second week or on the third week of December due to the holidays. We included it on this year. I don't know if you still want to keep it that way or if you want to do any changes to the proposed calendar.
Can the 21st meeting of December be changed from other date? Because there's a holiday, so we might be out of town or holiday, so. Or just cancel it.
If you want to cancel it, whatever the commission wants to do, those are the regular scheduled days. But if we have many items in December come up or something happens, the chair can always call for a special meeting if that were to be the case. We didn't have a problem last year. We didn't have a lot of applications. Normally, it tends to slow down during or towards the end of the year.
You can
In
leave
my
it as-
opinion, I
as-
would like to cancel.
Can we just like leave it as is and then if we need to cancel it, I mean, or make adjustments as the year goes by, can we adjust it?
That's another option if the commission wishes to do so. Because it depends. Like I said, last year, we didn't get a lot of applications in December, at the end of December, so it was not a problem. If the same thing happens this year, if we don't have items to post in the agenda, we can always cancel it, the regular scheduled meeting.
I make a motion
don't
to
have-
approve this.
I second.
Mr. Cisneros, I think we didn't hear.
I make a motion to approve as is.
Okay.
And I second.
I have a motion to approve made by Mr. Enrique Cisneros, second by Mr. Andrew Arroyos. And I would like to take a vote. Ernest Gomez,
Yes.
David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes.
Andrew Arroyos,
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion was carried.
I'm sorry, commissioners, can I please have you silence your telephones?
Item
I
number
think
6.
the volume is having troubles.
I'm sorry?
um, when, uh, when somebody's speaking, it hears like the volume is up and down, up and down.
So the volume is fluctuating. Is everybody having the same problem?
No, I can hear fine.
I'm okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, item number 6, consider and take action on the bylaws of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So on the bylaws, we had to put it on the agenda that this is according to Article 4 of the bylaws. Because it's the first meeting of the year. It does say under Section B that this is the time where the commission would either choose the officers. We didn't put that item on the agenda because we did it towards the end of last year when the chair at the time resigned. So the other item is the bylaws, the calendar, and the last thing that is on Section B is the order of business. We weren't sure what that's about. I guess that would be a question for the attorney. And then the purpose of this is to review the bylaws if you want to do any changes or modifications to the bylaws. We provided them to you in December, so you can go ahead and review them. I don't know if you have any comments or suggestions for them, or should we approve them, leave them as they are? The last time that they were updated or reviewed was in December 2015. No, I'm sorry, October 2015. That was the last time they were reviewed.
I have a couple of things I'd like to address on the bylaws.
Okay.
So on Section G, where it limits the 2 reasons as to when the Planning and Zoning Commission can bring something back, it only lists 2 reasons. I'd like to do away with those 2 reasons and have the sentence end where it says agenda. So to recap that last sentence on page 5 of 10, Section G, it says, it's the last sentence of that section. It says a motion to reconsider may be made by any voting member who voted on the prevailing side of the agenda on the agenda item and shall only be available in the following 2 circumstances. I suggest that that item end at the end of agenda item.
I guess
That way, if the Planning and Zoning Commission wants to bring something back, they're not limited by only those 2 reasons. And then the next thing I would like to draw everyone's attention to would also be, it's gonna be,
Mr. Cisneros, before you move forward, can we ask Mr. Bocci about those 2 conditions that are stated? I believe that when an action is not clear or the decision is not clear, I believe the applicant has the right to be heard again. Is that right, Mr. Body? You're muted. We can't hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry. And I'm having video difficulties there, but what was your question, Joe? You said something a little bit different from what Mr. Cisneros was talking about.
Yes, I believe he's proposing to do some changes to those.
Delete those 2 sentences,
Yes. So my question is, I guess when the action or when the action of the commission is not clear on record, the applicant has the right to be heard again. So those are the times when we have to put the item back on the agenda to be heard. Is that right? Or,
Yeah, so the way it reads is really, it's any voting member, so basically the Board of Commissioners here, that you could bring it back. So you can make a motion to reconsider, if you want to bring something back. The problem though with deleting those sentences is that it makes this open-ended all the time. So that's why there's certain limits, because otherwise there'll never be, under the law, anytime you guys make a decision on anything, you need to have a sense of finality, right? And then there needs to be a clear, oh, I can appeal this if I'm not happy with it. The way it's set up is anything that you guys do, it ends up going to city council, and it can come back also, that's one part of that equation. The motion to reconsider is, if you do it the way I think that Mr. Cisneros has in mind currently, you could make unlimited motions to reconsider. You could do it 50 times in one meeting. I mean, so what is the limit that you guys want to set? I think really the purpose of the motion to reconsider is somebody misheard something. So you voted yes, and then later you're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's what they said? I didn't mean to vote that way. Can I make a motion to reconsider? So that's kind of the purpose of the motion to reconsider. But like I said, it doesn't give applicants, if you don't put some kind of limit on it, some kind of limited language, you could bring it up 50 times in a meeting. So what is the limit that you guys want to set? A lot of this stuff, it also usually tracks the Texas Local Government Code. It also tracks some of the same language that we have in the City of Socorro Municipal Code. So I would have to double check to see if there is this similar language in the municipal code, and then are we doing something that's still, you're limited anyway by the municipal code. So that's something I can look back in the future, or go back and take a look, just to make sure there's no inconsistencies. But that's my only comments on it.
And Mr. Body, the reason I make that where I call attention to that part of the reason I'm calling attention to that is because there is a limitation, there is an expiration of when we can bring it back, which is within the first 60 days of when that was approved. So it's in the next item, and considerations can only be done within the first 60 days. And I mean, the 2 years I've been on planning and zoning, we've never brought anything back. I just want to give the committee the ability to bring it back in the event that we need something to adjust something again. So I guess we can vote to table this to get back word from Mr. Body to get some more clarification on that. Is that correct, Mr. Terrazas?
yes, that sounds much better. That'll give the attorney more time to look into it.
Very good. The next thing I'd like to draw attention to is on item H1. It also says that an item may not be reconsidered twice, except by unanimous consent of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I would want to change that from 3/4 consent. Is what my suggestion would be, and I think that 3/4 is still a very high bar to meet to bring something back. And again, not that we've brought anything back, but if we're taking the time to look at the bylaws, I think those are two things that drew my attention that I'm willing to ask Mr. Body and planning and zoning professionals to look at changing those two things.
Yes, thank you. Good observation.
Yeah,
Let me ask, I've got a question. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hello? There you go. If something is brought back after it's been, whatever, approved or disapproved or whatever we do those people that are bringing that back or requesting it back, do they reapply and pay for another permit, or are we still dealing with the same thing?
Yeah, this is Marwan. I think to answer your question, if it's still the same application that's in front, and it's being reconsidered, I don't believe they would have to pay another fee.
Okay.
If nobody else has any comment on the bylaws, I would suggest we make a motion to table this for the next meeting to allow staff and the attorneys to advise us as to if those changes are possible.
Commissioners, we do have a speaker for this comment. I mean, for this item. Ms. Cruz?
Yes. So my time started. Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, actually, the comment that I wanted to mention was in line with what Mr. Cisneros just pointed out. And I would just actually go further into pointing out that on page 5, letter G, if you were to put a period after on the agenda item, after item, it is requiring though that only the people who voted for the motion or whoever won, right, or voted for in favor of the motion, or whatever it says prevailing. The prevailing side are the only ones that could bring it back, and that's actually an issue that I've always had even with city council, which means that let's say for example that you all think that something's going to pass and it does pass, but one member who had some reservations either abstains or votes no. That person, if let's say they wanted to bring back more information that they were able to gather and they wanted to reconsider the item, technically they couldn't be able to bring it back based on that word alone, right? The prevailing side. And so I would just suggest that since there are the time limits and since there are the number of times that it can be brought back, I believe that it should be okay to remove that and allow people who vote against something to be able to bring it back if they think that it needs to be reconsidered. That's just a thought that I've had across for city council and of course for the commission, that I wanted to mention that. Thank you.
I have a motion to table made by Mr. Enrique Cisneros. Do I have a second?
I second.
And it's second by Mr. Andrew Arroyos. And I'd like to take a vote. Ernest Gomez,
Yes. Yes.
David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes.
Andrew Arroyos,
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, public hearing for a conditional use permit for a daycare in Lot 25, Block 3, Valle del Sol subdivision located at 10281 Valle del Mar.
We're going to open public hearing at 5:54.
Is there anybody to speak on the public hearing for item number 7?
If there's nobody, I'd like to close public hearing at 5:55.
Item number 8, consider and take action on a conditional use permit for daycare in Lot 25, Block 3, Valle del Sol subdivision located at 10281 Valle del Mar. Do I have a motion?
Is the applicant present?
Yes, let me first do the presentation here real quick. This is a conditional use permit for a daycare. This property is located at 10281 Valle del Mar. It's there's a house that was built in 2005. This is according to the El Paso Central Appraisal District records. It is currently being used as a daycare. The problem is that they opened up business without obtaining the conditional use permit first. And also I need to clarify that there is a typo in the report. There's a correction on the ordinance that we're making reference to. It should be ordinance 76, not 86. According to ordinance 76, this property is classified as R3. It's a high density residential area. According to ordinance 76, daycares are allowed in these kind of zones. However, they require a special permit. All the properties that are around it, everything is R3. The current land use is residential. The proposed use of the property is to be used as residential with a conditional use permit for the daycare. According to the FEMA flood insurance rate maps, this property is in zone X. So it's not in a flood zone. And for that reason, the Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval to allow them to continue to operate their business and register formally as a daycare. This is a daycare for adults. According to the owner, they are housing about 2 or 3 people at a time. And they continue to operate in the same manner. So when we did the inspection of the site, we didn't see any overcrowding of the property. It looks clean on the outside and no code violations were identified. I don't know if you have any questions.
For those, how did you find out that they were operating an adult daycare center?
The reason we found out is because we received a report from an anonymous call. So we followed up and we were able to positively identify that there is some daycare operations in the premises. And for that reason, they came in to apply and obtain the permit that they need.
Okay, is there a certain amount of people before technically it is a daycare?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I said, is there an amount of persons for it to be a daycare? Is it 2? Is it 1? Is it 5?
No, sir. It could be just one person. However, if they're gonna be housing over 3, then they gotta meet other requirements from the state. In this case, this is not the case. They don't intend to house more than 3 people, more than 2 or 3 people, according to the owner. But if there's gonna be over 3, then other things need to apply before that happens.
Did you have any complaints prior to this?
No, sir.
Okay. You need a motion?
Yes, please. Do I have a motion?
Question. Question.
Yes, sir.
Is the neighbors around the daycare, they were notified that they asking for a permit?
Yes, we did follow the protocol. We mailed out the letters to all the properties within 200 feet. It looks like we don't have anybody on the line to complain or to speak for them. Like I said, we haven't had any complaints from this property at all. If you look at the property from the front, it doesn't even look like a daycare. There's no signs or no advertisement. It just looks like any ordinary residential property.
Are there-
Which is the capacity in the daycare?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Okay, which is the capacity, the people that can be in the daycare? How many persons can be in there?
I guess they don't have a capacity to house more than 3 people. Other, if they were, like I said, if they were to exceed that amount, substantial improvements need to be made. But like I said, that's not the intention of the owner.
Does the city of Socorro make some limit of the persons to be in there?
Yes, it
daycare?
has to be limited to the requirements for ADA compliance and stuff like that. Like I said, we couldn't identify any code violations. We didn't see overcrowding of the property. So that's the reason we're giving you this recommendation.
Yeah, is that house built for a daycare specifically, or first of all was a family house?
Originally, it was just built as an ordinary home, but because they have enough room for 2 or 3 people, that's why the owner decided to go ahead and allow. They didn't think they were gonna get in trouble by operating as a daycare until we received the report.
So just to clarify, they've got all the other licenses, they're regulated by the state, so they're in compliance with all the other entities, correct?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to go along with staff recommendation and approve.
But, okay. I have some questions here. Are there any other similar licenses or permits, special use permits for daycares in the subdivision?
Yes, there are several daycares. The other daycares are for children, which I think should be a little bit more restrictive. In this case, this is an adult daycare. There's at least, off the top of my head, I could remember at least 2 other child daycares in the same subdivision. And then also to let you know, the owner of the property is also on the line if you have any questions for the owner.
When Job, you visited the property,
Yes, sir.
were they meeting like ADA compliance? For example, are there ramps? Is there a ramp leading up to the front doorstep? Are there grab bars in the restrooms? Are doorways wide enough for wheelchair access if needed? Is there carpet that the elderly are walking on? Trip hazards, fire extinguishers?
No, at the time of the inspection, because they were in the early stages of operating, we didn't identify any of those provisions.
Is there any ADA inspector coming into this house to get an inspection?
So the moment they apply for a license from the state will send an inspector and make sure that they do have all of those requirements met. And then that's before the license is issued. So at the time, the first thing they need to do, so the very first thing they need from the city is to get the approval for the conditional use permit. And then they will go through the state. And then from the state, they'll give them the certificate or the license. And then they'll come back to the city for their business registration. And that's when we're gonna make sure that they have all the.
Actually they have the license already
Yes, sir.
by the state, by the ADA department?
Yes, they provided some documents. However, they don't have the conditional use permit yet. So
Because here on the here on the application, we don't see nothing of those papers.
No, of course not. That's not information that is part of the backup, but because at the moment they're only asking for the conditional use permit. The business registration and all that information is independent from this application.
Did you notice because you're calling it a daycare, so I'm thinking that a person or an elderly, if you will, that they'll go there in the morning and then they leave before nighttime. In other words, they're not spending the night there.
I believe that's
That's what I'm thinking when you say daycare, that it's just during the day and that it's not a home where, like a foster home, like an adult foster home where adults live there overnight on a continual basis. That would be different than a daycare. Did you notice anything like that? Like in the bedrooms, or people sleeping there overnight?
I didn't see any provisions for sleeping, but we can also forward that question to Mr. Reyes. He's the owner. If you want more information about the way he operates his business, he can be able to provide you more feedback, because I'm not sure.
And so when is he currently operating, or was he told not to operate until he gets the permit?
He was told to halt until the conditional use permit was approved.
I'm sorry, it broke up. Can you repeat that, Joe?
He was told to stop operating until the conditional use permit is approved.
I want to say that I think we need to be careful, because I think we're going to set precedent over the years to come and the decades to come. This is going to become very popular. It already is, and it's profitable. There are a lot of commercial daycares throughout the city of El Paso, and a lot of them actually here in Socorro, but they're actual commercial facilities that are inspected by fire, health, and so on. And I think in the years to come, there's going to be a trend to where more and more people are going to see a need, and they're going to open up their single family residences for daycares and for foster homes. And I think it needs to be at the very least regulated to some point, to where the city of Socorro protects themselves, as in requiring certain things, safety issues more than anything, grab bars in the restrooms, doorways that are wide enough, ramps leading up to the entries. So this one kind of worries me. This one right off the bat seems like it's okay, no problem, but I think we're going to see this a lot in the years to come. So that's my opinion.
Let me I'll retract my motion and give Mr. Jose Reyes the ability to answer any of those concerns. Sí,
Mr.
Mr.
Reyes
Reyes,
on the line?
Mr. Reyes?
¿Sí habla español?
Sí.
sí.
Sí, aquí estoy.
So, señor Reyes, algunas de las preocupaciones que tiene el comité es bueno, quieren saber si uno ahorita está en operación, dos, cuántas personas tiene, y tres, si es que tiene el equipo necesario para atender a personas de la tercera edad en su domicilio, que es su negocio.
Tengo las puertas anchas para el baño en sus cuartos. Tengo el extinguidor. Tengo barras para seguridad para el paciente en el baño. Tengo ahorita 2 pacientes.
¿Y qué otros permisos tiene o con quién está registrado?
Ahorita no estoy registrado con nadie. Estoy pidiendo el permiso apenas con la ciudad de Socorro. porque ya intenté sacarlo allá en la ciudad del Paso, pero me dijeron que no le correspondía al condado de Socorro, del Paso, que tenía que pedirlo acá en Socorro.
Ya se ha registrado con el estado de Texas como daycare de las personas de la tercera edad.
Traté de registrarme ahí en el Paso, en el condado del Paso, pero me dijeron que no le correspondía allí. Traté de sacar el permiso ahí, pero me dijeron que tenía que ser acá en la ciudad de Socorro.
Es que, mire, una cosa es el permiso de la construcción para funcionar como daycare, pero lo más importante es que va a venir un inspector del estado y si lo ven trabajando y no tiene permiso del estado, le puede dar una multa muy grande. El estado y luego el departamento de disability también va a tener otra inspección de ellos y ellos le van a pedir requisitos indispensables para personas de avanzada edad, especialmente los deshabilitados. Si no cumple con nada de eso y no tiene ese permiso, lo pueden multar muy altamente.
Ok.
Mr. Reyes, ¿ya está registrado en el estado también?
Acaba de decir que no.
What was your question, Andy?
Oh, if he was registered, es que si está registrado con el estado.
No estoy registrado por el estado.
¿Y su negocio, sus dos pacientes llegan en la mañana y se van en la noche o ahí viven de planta?
Ahí viven de planta.
Okay.
Oiga, señor, ¿cuántos años tiene usted en este negocio?
Tengo como 5 años.
¿En esta casa, en este local, o ha tenido ese negocio en otros locales?
En otros locales había tenido.
¿Nos puede decir si eran aquí en Socorro o en El Paso?
En El Paso.
En El Paso. ¿Tenía usted permiso allá de la ciudad del Paso para tener esos negocios?
Sí, allá los tenía, en la otra dirección.
¿Cuánto tiempo tiene con este negocio aquí en Socorro?
Tengo como 2 años y medio, más o menos, 2 años y medio o 3 años.
3 años. Okay, I want to point out that he's aware, if he's been in business for 5 years in the city of El Paso with permit, is what he's saying, but he's starting to operate here in Socorro as of 2 years, but he never looked to obtain any type of permitting or licensing until somebody, an anonymous person, called in. He's admitting that people are staying there overnight. I think, again, it's a very profitable business if it's run and done ethically. I'll tell you, I know of a home that's outside of the city limits of Socorro. The home was built, it's 4,000 square feet, 8 bedrooms. No, it's out of the city, so no inspections or anything, and elderly are living there in very, very poor conditions. So it happens. I'm not saying that this homeowner is doing that, but I think we need to be very careful in allowing this. I think it's beyond, I think, what, it's something that the state needs to monitor and license, and I see that that's what he's trying to do, but it just feels like if he's only doing it because he was caught.
Tengo una pregunta para el señor Terrazas. Me voy a cambiar a español para que me entienda el señor Reyes todo lo que estoy preguntando. Señor Terrazas, veo aquí que el permiso se había pedido el 12 de noviembre. Ahora estamos a 5 de enero. Según entiendo que hay un límite de tiempo cuando tenemos que tomar acción o un voto sobre ciertos permisos pedidos.
No, señor, eso no aplica para esta aplicación. No hay límite de tiempo. La razón que se tardó un poco fue porque no hubo juntas en diciembre. Recibimos la aplicación en noviembre, la presentamos como una introducción a este mismo comisión. Y luego ahorita es cuando estamos, por esa razón, en la primera junta del año es que estamos teniendo la audiencia pública que ya se llevó a cabo. Y ahorita ya nomás están preparando agarrar la información que necesitan para tomar acción en si lo van a aprobar o lo van a negar. And also
Otra pregunta.
for the commission, I want to make just to make it a point. You keep asking questions about licensing from the state. And Mr. Body, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're not required to have licensing if they're not going to be housing over 3. That's why I keep bringing 3 is the number. If they're going to have more than 3 people, they have to register as an assisted living facility. If they are not going to have more than 3 people, they can operate with a license from the city, which is what they're asking for at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's some threshold on the number, and maybe it's 3. I haven't looked at that particular requirement, but whatever it is, I mean, they still have to follow, if they fall within, all the state regulations, and it's up to the city of Socorro. I mean, you guys have your own, the conditional use permit is in front of you, and it's really up to your call on, whether or not you want to grant it, even independent of any state licensing they have to do. I mean, you can vote yes, you can vote no. You can make it conditional on them also following all state procedures. I mean, they should be doing that anyway. Whether or not they're exempt under certain things, I'm not sure. I mean, and to answer part of your question, Joe, too, is that if they're having people stay overnight versus just during the day, then I don't know if then they are exempt. That might be a different situation. But if they're operating it as a part of a business, and it's not somebody, somebody's old mom or dad that's old elderly at their house, it is a business, then they are subject to certain restrictions. They're doing it for profit, and they do have certain expectations, and even with the ADA as well, that may apply to them. I think it was Mr. Estrada that brought up, do they have the proper bars and everything for people to hold on to? So, nothing that will come out of planning and zoning will exempt them still. If they have to follow state regulations, federal regulations, then they're going to have to do it, whether or not we tell them to do it.
Sí, muchas gracias. Pregunto, si tienen los pacientes que se están quedando allí, ¿tiene que cambiar el tipo de permiso o sigue siendo condicional el mismo permiso?
It's still considered a conditional use permit. Yes, it doesn't change.
The condition stays the same, whether okay.
Yes. And that's because of the language on the ordinance. That's the way it's written. So I don't know, you have any more questions?
Yeah, Job, I have a question, Job. Is there any other, is there any office or any committee or anybody within the city of Socorro that monitors these adult foster homes or the daycares? For example, there are a lot of commercial daycares that are operating within city limits. Is there anybody that has that job description within the city of Socorro?
No, sir. The only time when those premises are inspected is at the time when they apply for a permit. That's when we do the inspection of the site before the license is granted. And then other than that, they just continue to renew annually. We do have the authority to do random inspections because it will be considered um, a use that will be, like Mr. Body said, like a commercial use. Does give us the authority to go at any time, uh, reasonable time, to do an inspection if necessary. If there's a suspicion of any illegal activity or stuff, any reports or complaints or comments from any of the people who are living within the facility, that'll be enough sufficient evidence for us to initiate an inspection of the site.
Mr. Terrazas,
Yes,
the complaint that you had was in reference to the license, not the care. Is that correct?
yes, the complaint that we got is that somebody was operating and it was somebody that I guess is aware that they are supposed to get a conditional use permit. And
Okay.
they knew, or somebody knew some information. I don't know if it was someone who lived in the site or knew the owner. But at the time when they reported, they were aware that it was a requirement to obtain a conditional use permit, and they reported it, and that's why we're here.
Okay, so they're here just to comply with what's requested from the city of Socorro.
Yes,
The complaint was not anything to do with health or neglect or anything like that.
that's correct.
Okay.
So is there, was the motion still to approve or to not approve?
Well, I retracted my motion, so there's no motion on the table, but I did have another question for Mr. Terrazas. Is there, is there a scenario where we can make one of the conditions where we notify, I mean, I don't know which, I guess it's I don't know if it's the licensing authority at the state level, or if it's Adult Protective Services, where we can approve it referencing or requesting that we send this referral out to them so that they can, be notified of this business, and thereby they can take over that work.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I can definitely reach out to TDLR or some agency from the state, and we can provide that answer and find out what we could do to make sure that they comply with also state regulations before we grant them the business registration. That's a good observation. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, mi pregunta era de que si el comité llegara a aprobar el permiso, que si podemos mandarle una referencia a las entidades del estado que dan las licencias o al Departamento de Protecciones de la gente de la tercera edad, para que ellos de aquí en adelante sepan del negocio y puedan asistirle o las notificar qué es lo que se necesita hacer para que esté dentro del margen de la ley. I will say, I understand that it's not, that Mr. Reyes is here not under his own volition, but because he was, somebody, referred him to here. I think we should take advantage of this opportunity to give him the ability to get in compliance. The hard part is once we approve it or decline it, it's my understanding that he needs this conditional, conditional permit to be able to move on to the next step to get licensed. Now, unfortunately, because of his previous experience, he should have known this, and he should have known better. But I think we're here now. I never want to turn away business coming to Socorro. I completely agree with the comments made that this is something that we have to keep a close eye on. And I think that there's already entities that monitor these facilities. And once we make them aware, you know, they've got the manpower, they've got the budgets, they've got the know-how to do this. Lo que estaba diciendo es de que desafortunadamente está aquí señor Reyes no porque quiso, sino porque le dijeron, tiene que venir y pedir este permiso, ¿verdad? Siendo de que ya tenía este negocio previamente, debió haber sabido de que necesitaba algún tipo de permiso, ya sea de la ciudad de Socorro o el estado de Texas. Pero bueno, ya estamos aquí. No quiero, yo en mi opinión, entre más negocio viene Socorro, mejor. Lo difícil es de que si llegáramos a darle el permiso, es una vez que lo vamos a ver, ¿verdad? No es un tema que vamos a volver a tocar en 6 meses, en un año, pero sí se me hace, si es que llegáramos a aprobarlo, yo les recomendaría a mis colegas en comisionarios que si es que lo llegamos a aprobar, que lo aprobemos con la condición de que le demos esta información al Departamento de Licencia del Estado de Texas para que le ayuden y le hagan saber qué es lo que necesita que hacer para que esté dentro del margen de los requisitos para un negocio de esta manera. That's my opinion.
Sí, está bien, yo estoy
Is that your motion? Can the
I'll make
motion
a-
be made using Mr. Cisneros stipulation?
I make a motion to approve with the condition that we refer the pertinent state entities that govern and license these types of facilities. And if anybody else wants to add conditions, I'm open to that as well.
This is Marwan Bati. I think to add to Mr. Cisneros' stipulation, I looked it up very quickly. It's the Texas Health and Human Services Department that governs the adult daycares. So that's the agency, if you guys are wondering.
Can it be done just by, as soon as the gentleman gets his approval, that the city itself will just send off a letter to him?
Yes,
And,
that
and
would be
just
part
keep
of
a
the requirements.
record on it, because it seems like, you know, I don't think the city of Socorro wants to get involved in all that medical stuff. Just keep it on, like you said, on the health services and let them do their job. The city of Socorro did what they were supposed to do. And if they decide he can't do it or something wrong, then they can pull his license, or they can tell the city of Socorro why they're pulling his license. To me, it's kind of hard to find people who want to take on other people and take care of them. You know, I don't know what the quality of the care is, and we'll never know. But he's been doing it for quite a few years, and there's no complaints. That kind of gives me an idea that it was a licensing issue, not a medical issue or a healthcare issue.
Was there a motion to approve
Yeah,
with that condition?
yeah.
So,
That's Mr. Cisneros.
Let me amend my vote or correct my motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve with the condition that we notify Texas Health and Human Services of this facility existence.
I second.
I have a motion to approve with conditions made by Enrique Cisneros, second by Mr. Andrew Arroyos. And I'd like to take a vote. Ernest Gomez,
Yes.
David Estrada,
No.
Arturo Lafuente,
No.
Andrew Arroyos,
Yes.
Enrique Cisneros.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, public hearing for a conditional use permit for a mechanic shop on lots 7 and 8, block 3, Algodon subdivision located at 10109 Socorro Road.
We open public hearing at 6:30.
Is there anybody to speak in the public hearing for item number 10?
No.
If nobody's for public hearing, we close public hearing at 6:30.
Item number 10, consider and take action on a conditional use permit for a mechanic shop on lot 7 and 8, block 3, Algodon subdivision, located at 10-10-9 Socorro Road.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a conditional use permit for a mechanic shop. This property is located at 10109 Socorro Road. It has been a mechanic shop for a number of years. The problem here is that there were several mechanic shops that were operating in this premises. However, the time came where, according to the records that we have, there was no mechanic either operating or registered with the city for some time. The last time that we had something in our files was 2017. I don't know if they stopped registering. What that means is that it may no longer continue to operate until a conditional use permit is obtained. Even though the land use was grandfathered, all that goes away when they stop operating for more than 6 months. The mechanic that is on the premises right now has not been able to demonstrate continuous operation. We don't have any record of any mechanic shop between 2017 and 2020. So when somebody, a code enforcer showed up and was asking for the business registration, of course, nothing was there. There is a lot of mechanic activity on the premises. It looks like there was a mechanic business that was approved by the Historical Landmark Commission back in 2016. And then they painted the building. This property is located between 2 lots. The building is grandfathered itself. This building was built in 1950, according to the El Paso Central Appraisal records. It has about 1,300 square feet. According to the flood insurance rate maps, it's in Zone X. The current land use is commercial. There are some code violations that need to be addressed. The first thing they need to be allowed to continue operating as a mechanic is the conditional use permit, of course. Before a business registration is granted to them, all the code violations will need to be abated. Some of the violations that were identified is, as you can see, there's inoperable vehicles throughout the site. According to the ordinance, they're not allowed to have, even if a conditional use permit is granted to them, they're not allowed to have more than 5 inoperable vehicles that belong to the customers only. On the north of the property, there's a C1 light commercial. On the south, east, and west, all around, there's a mixture of single-family residential and light commercial properties. Because this facility has been operating for so long, other than the failure to register their business in 2017, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval to allow them to continue operating with a condition that they remove or abate the violations that were identified, which were the inoperable vehicles. I don't know if you have any questions.
How much time do they have? So if we were gonna give them a conditional, a conditional, how long before they need to, finish those corrections before it's brought back up to your attention?
They need to start immediately. They need to demonstrate that they are doing an effort, and we need to see progress. Normally, we don't issue more than 30 days maximum before the premises are cleaned up and no more violations are identified. It shouldn't take more than 30 days.
So after those 30 days, they can be shut down?
Yes, if no, well, if, let's say, for example, if you approve the conditional use permit with conditions imposed and they don't comply, well, yes, they can definitely shut down. They may no longer operate until everything is taken care of.
Did you mention that they got a waiver from the historical commission? Because it's not in the mission picturesque tradition, is that what it was?
It's in the historical district. They were granted a certificate of appropriateness that you see on the screen. This certificate was signed in 2016. The yellow area that you see here says that it's specifically for a mechanic shop and for some paint work that they were gonna do on the building. So the historical commission does not have a problem with it being a mechanic shop. However, the violations do need to be abated. I don't know if you have any more questions for this one.
Is the applicant present?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Sí, aquí estoy presente, Alberto Estrada.
Buenas tardes, Alberto. Una pregunta, ¿cuánto lleva con el taller ahí en la calle Socorro?
Mire, yo soy dueño de esa propiedad hace como unos 4 años. Anteriormente, el taller yo lo conocí del dueño anterior. 2 dueños anteriores, ya estaban como más de 10 años que sigue siendo taller. Ahora yo soy el propietario de esa propiedad y yo se lo sigo rentando a esa persona porque él ya tiene como 5 años conmigo rentándolo. Entonces, pues ahora me topo con el problema de que dice que no le quieren dar permiso para seguir operando y antes siempre había sido taller. Dice, no explico por qué está pasando eso.
Señor Terrazas, en este ejemplo, cuando hay un dueño y alguien que renta el edificio, ¿de quién es la responsabilidad para pedir o reportarse con la ciudad de Socorro como negocio cada año?
La responsabilidad le pertenece al dueño del negocio de obtener todos los permisos necesarios cuando y si cambian de dueño y el uso es continuo, ya no hay necesidad de volver a pedir el mismo conditional use permit. Se registra un nuevo dueño en la misma local, pero sí es la responsabilidad del dueño, sea el mismo o nuevo dueño, de obtener todos los permisos necesarios sin que se expire. En este caso, como no era un negocio que estaba grandfathered o protegido por la cláusula del abuelo, pararon de registrarse por 3 años y automáticamente pierde su protección. Por esa razón es necesario obtener este permiso.
Muy bien.
Para operar el taller, perdón, para que opere el taller, aunque yo no lo esté operando, yo soy solo el dueño, yo tengo que sacar el permiso para que siga operando.
Sí, eso es correcto, con la autorización del dueño y la persona que está operando el negocio, usted es el único que puede autorizar a que se haga esta transacción en su propiedad.
Sí, esto yo no lo sabía. Yo pensé que él sacaba su permiso para trabajar y estaba bien. Yo no sabía que también yo tenía que sacar un permiso para operar el taller como mecánico.
No, es el mecánico el que tiene que sacar la registración. Usted nada más estaba autorizando el uso de suelo. Por esa razón es que usted tuvo que firmar la aplicación como dueño, pero ya de hoy en adelante, si se lo llegan a aprobar en esta petición, en el futuro ya no va a ser necesario volverlo a pedir. Simplemente que continúen renovando sus registros, cualquier persona que esté rentando el local.
Ok, muy bien. Sí, pues ese trámite yo como no lo sabía, yo no lo había hecho. Pero ahora que me estoy dando cuenta, pues claro que yo me interesa, ¿verdad? Pues es mi patrimonio de mi familia. Tengo que seguir, pues a la manera de hacer las cosas legales y correcto, como dijo el caballero hace ratito, entre más negocios tenga la ciudad de Socorro, es mejor. Yo estoy de acuerdo, ¿verdad? Y pues a ponerme al tanto de llevar todos mis papeles en regla para que no haya ningún problema.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't.
I make a motion to approve with the condition that he get up to par with the city of Socorro ordinances or codes that they have to meet.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve with conditions made by Mr. Andrew Arroyos, second by Mr. Enrique Cisneros, and I'd like to take a vote. Ernest Gomez,
Yes.
David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes.
Andrew Arroyos,
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, consider and take action on the preliminary and final plat approval for Horn subdivision, being all of tracks 4D, 2S, 4D, 2T, Block 3, Socorro Grant, located at 10678 Horn Circle.
This is an application to, I'm gonna turn on temporarily the layer for the parcels. So you can see that there's existing 2 parcels of land on Horn Circle. The owner of these 2 tracts of land wants to subdivide them in half and create 4 lots. This is the entire area. I'm gonna show you on the screen the final plat. The purpose for this is to create 4 lots. He's a home builder, and he wants to build a house on each lot. I'm also gonna show you on the screen an example of some of the homes that he's built before. This is not the first time that he subdivides a property. So this is I'm sorry, I'm just waiting on my computer. Here it is. This is how he wants to subdivide the land. As you can see, it's 4 lots. The total area for lot 1 is 17,000 square feet. Lots 2 and 3 will have the same amount of area. Lot 4 would have 24,210 square feet. The total area of the proposed development is 75,218 square feet. And then I'm gonna show you here this example on the screen of the type of homes that they build.
Beatriz G. Rubio.
And also the owner or the builder is also on the phone. If you have any questions, these are the type of buildings that he wants to install on these lots. Right now, we do have the plans under review by our consultants. We still haven't received the comments, but we did a preliminary review of the information that was given to us, and it looks like we couldn't identify any major issues or corrections. Some of the things that were redlined have been taken care of already. We're just pending the review from the consultant. I don't know if you have any questions. Let me just put the plat on the screen again so you can take another look at it. Here it is. And the purpose is just to create 4 lots. Also, with this plat, they would be dedicating additional right-of-way just to establish the property boundary along the existing fence. There is no need to expand the roadway because this road is already improved. It will have on-site ponding in the back. This is a developed subdivision. I'm gonna go back to the aerial map so you can get another view of the area. This is right behind the Fiesta Mercado, the O'Reilly's. It's the properties in the back. I don't know if you have any questions. Also, Mr. Vaquera is on the line to answer any questions or concerns you might have.
I don't have any questions. Does anybody else?
No.
Does the property currently have irrigation rights?
Mr. Vaquera, I don't know. That's something that we didn't ask for because it doesn't look like it's been used for agricultural purposes. But it is my understanding that once they subdivide this and they start connecting to the Lower Valley Water utilities, the Lower Valley Water Company will take away the water rights. Even if they do have water rights, they will be taken away the moment they connect to the city water. Is there any other questions? Okay.
Anybody else has anything? I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
I'm sorry, who was that? Mr. Cisneros. I have a motion to approve made by Andrew Arroyo, second by Enrique Cisneros. And I'd like to take a vote. Ernest Gomez,
Yes.
David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes.
Andrew Arroyos,
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion is carried. Item number 12, Planning and Zoning Commissioners Report.
I don't have anything to report.
I don't have anything to report either.
Item number 13, Planning and Zoning Department Report.
We don't have nothing to report.
Item number 14, excuse absent commissioners. We don't have any absent commissioners. Item number 15, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Yes. I'll second.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to adjourn and second by Andrew Arroyos. And I'd like to take a vote. Ernest Gomez,
Yes.
David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes.
Andrew Arroyos,
Yes.
Enrique Cisneros.
Yes, ma'am.
The motion is carried. The meeting is adjourned at 6:50 p.m.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Happy